Micromanagement, I think, is a very undervalued aspect of the strategic armoury that any leader or manager has in an organisation. Whilst when you're in a senior position, clearly you're there to take an overview, to give guidance, to sort out problems. And in the main, you should let those people who report to you just get on and do the day-to-day detail. But it's absolutely, I think, key and invaluable to occasionally dive into particular issues to absolutely understand what is going on and also to keep everybody on their toes. Now, my experience, which has been primarily creative, running creative organisations with creative individuals and being responsible for schedules. Now, schedules are absolutely key when you're a broadcaster. You transmit them 24 hours a day, what appears at what time, what the inheritance is, what's going on other channels, can often be as important as the quality of the show. If you get any of that wrong, if you place your crown jewel against Coronation Street, it's very unlikely it's going to be sampled. So what I've done throughout my career when I've been leading networks and teams of networks is focus in on occasions, on a week, on a day, on a quarter, a particular scheduling period, and really understand the dynamics of what is going on. For example, when I was in charge of children's programmes and daytime programmes for ITV, I worked alongside a scheduler, and we used to dive into the detail and absolutely understand, and we could predict with alarming accuracy, because the BBC were very predictable, what they were going to do on what certain nights, and you could almost absolutely guarantee the week numbers because they'd never had opposition before. They weren't used to somebody really micromanaging and going into the detail. And we did that to great advantage because we absolutely knew what to avoid and equally knew where to put our strong programming against theirs. That worked well. At Sky One, interesting. It's one of over 70 channels that are part of my responsibility. And in the multi-channel world, most people only have one set-top box. So if you've got a brilliant new drama or a brilliant new factual series, there's absolutely no point, for example, probably launching that on a Monday night because you're going to be up against Premier League football. And the controller in most homes is the man, and more men like football than don't. So if you've got you don't put it against Premier League. Now that might sound really obvious. It was obvious to me. But the schedulers hadn't really thought about that. Actually, it's a single set-top box in the home. So rather than think about holistically what's going on in the family, we just looked at the schedule where you need to look at the bigger picture. And that was micromanagement. That was going in and saying, let's understand the dynamics of what is happening on this day and what in the home. And from that, you can take away the fact that you as an individual in that home aren't necessarily going to be watching what you Sky One put up because you've got too many choices. So you've got to just play to your strengths. And again, it's micromanagement. It's going in and thinking, actually, what are the opportunities here that are being missed? And often, the great thing about when you do delve into very specific detail is, you say you can't see the wood from the trees. Actually, it's the other way around. Sometimes you can't see what is so goddamn apparent. And it's just something that I do from time to time is go in, take me through the day and explain to me every decision behind constructing, for example, that day's schedule. And invariably you can add something to it. It's not about continually going into detail. It's about an occasional dipstick. And that shows the competence of the organisation. It also reinforces the leader's position that actually they have something to add, and also they're engaged in the detail. They're not that remote in terms of running the business that they're not engaged with the day-to-day detail. But it should be an occasional thing. It shouldn't be frequent because people can predict if it's too frequent. Far better to keep people on their toes and say, okay, we're going to look at this, and it's coming out of the blue, and it just keeps the organisation on its toes.